Not only because it's Steeler Bengal weekend, although that's why I'm wearing my black and gold Steeler shirt today. So just so you know, I know some of you are walking out the door. I get it. It's all right. It's all right. But it's also a big day for us because this is our challenge that we've put out. This is the day to contribute and be part of the What's Next teachings that we've been doing for the past several weeks. And there have been challenges every week for us to kind of do. And we talked about being a good neighbor. That was a few weeks ago, so I hope some of you went out and reconnected with some neighbors, being a good friend. You go out and you make phone calls. They're friends. You go out to coffee with them, whatever. You rake somebody's yard that's a neighbor. You take care of the people around you. That's part of being a good Christ follower, is doing that. And we talked about starting friendships with people that are either significantly older than you or significantly younger than you. For example, if you're a 70-year-old, everybody just look around this room. Look behind you, beside you, whatever. You see people around you. This is a diverse group of people. All right? You just are. Age-wise, you're very diverse. There are plenty of 70, 80-year-olds here and plenty of 20 and 30-year-olds here. So here's our challenge. Because we are so diverse, we want you connected. We want you building relationship and friendships with the people that you worship with. And so my wife and I did not go out to dinner or coffee with anyone this week, but we have this coming Tuesday, I'm planning on meeting with a 20-something couple from our church. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know them a little bit and getting to talk through some things with them and just starting to build a friendship with them, because that's so important. So don't miss that. Don't miss those opportunities. Now, this opportunity goes on forever, right? It's not just over these next few weeks. But look at somebody that you don't know and go, hey, you want to go grab some coffee? That's all it takes to build a friendship. It's all it takes. So don't miss those challenges. We also gave you another challenge, and that was, as we built this stage as part of this What's Next opportunity, we had you come up and write scripture verses on the stage, or write prayers on the stage, or encouragements on the stage. Like we have something here, Matthew 25, the parable of the talents. May we all use what's given to us with courage and faith. That's cool. Parable of the talents. God gives us all something to use and ways to use it. Now may you use those with courage and faith. That's important. I love that. Philippians, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Those are great scriptures, right? There are scriptures and sayings on here about, may what's spoken from this stage be true. May the worship brought from this stage be impactful. I see those things all over the stage. This is your last week to do that, because this all gets covered up after this week. But if you still want to write some of those, you can still do that, because that's part of who we are and what we're doing. Now, when you're looking at the life of this church, every huge moment in the life of this church started with prayer. Every moment. There's been nothing that's happened here at Community Church that hasn't been bathed in prayer. Now, over the past 32 years that I've been the pastor here, we've gone from 50 people a week to over 700 people a week right now that worship with us. That's phenomenal. It is. And we're glad that you're here, because every person means that you're significant, you're special, and we want to help you connect to Jesus, right? We've gone from 2 part-time staff, myself and Rhonda Cupp. Rhonda was our secretary, and I was just trying to figure things out, how to do ministry. And so we started with 2 part-time staff. Now we have 7 full-time staff and 4 part-time staff. We've won to Jesus and baptized thousands and thousands and thousands of people. That's incredible. We've built buildings with 50 people that cost $450,000, and buildings with 200 people that cost over $1.3 million. And we've built buildings with 700 people 5 or 6 years ago that cost over $3 million. We've started different services. We've started different times, different ministry opportunities. We opened a second campus in Trenton, which was incredibly painful and sad when we had to close that campus. But now it's a daycare center, and we're thankful for that. We have impacted people in Hamilton and Trenton and Middletown and Fairfield and Monroe and Liberty Township and Fairfield Township and Jackson, Kentucky and Edinburgh, Scotland, and many other places with the love and faith and power of Jesus. You all have done that, and you've done a great job with doing that. This is a great church. You are a great church because you make up who we are. You're the ones that are doing this. God is using you to impact the communities around you and the people around you with the love and faith and hope of Jesus. So great job, because all of you are part of that. Now, sometimes we have a hard time communicating. Sometimes I have a hard time communicating exactly what's needed, right? And that happens because when I have to talk about money, I kind of shut down. And I've told you that before. Over the last several weeks, we've talked about finances, and I've told you that I hate talking about money. And I still hate talking about money. And I will probably hate talking about money for the rest of my life, right? Now, I believe in the vision that God has for us. I know the plans that God has for us, but I don't communicate very well when it comes to giving. I have a hard time with that. But that's not unusual for companies. If you look just like through history at companies that have made big-time communication errors, things like General Motors, when they built the car, the Chevy Nova, and they tried to market it into the Mexican and Spanish communities, do you know what Nova means? It doesn't go. Not a good marketing campaign. Hey, buy our new car. It doesn't drive, but you can buy it anyway. Not very smart. An American t-shirt maker in Miami printed shirts for the Spanish market when the Pope was coming to visit them. And the shirt, instead of saying, I saw the Pope, which is El Papa, the shirt said La Papa, which means I saw the potato. Just not a great marketing technique. Just isn't. Pepsi's the Come Alive campaign with the Pepsi generation translated into Chinese was Pepsi brings your ancestors back from the dead. Should have researched that a little bit more, right? Should have just done that. When Gerber started selling baby food in Africa, they used the same marketing they did in America. Now, in Africa, since language is not that common and it's harder for people to read, and there's multiple languages in Africa, companies would routinely place pictures on the label of what was inside of the jar. And so when they put babies on the outside of the baby food jar, thinking, well, come and eat a baby. That's kind of what it was. Not a great marketing campaign, right? Should have thought that through. So it's time for us as Community Church to communicate clearly. So what's next? Here's our vision. Shelley said it earlier. Love God, love people, help others do the same. That's what our vision is. That's what we do. That's who we are. That's how we live. Everything we do revolves around that. Matthew 28, we've been talking about this for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Matthew 28, do you remember the scripture? Jesus came and told his disciples, I have been given authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. I'm always going to be there with you. That's vital for us as a church. So what's next for us as Community Christian Church? Well, I want you to pick up these two papers that are stapled together that should be in every seat in here. Okay, everybody needs one of these. If you don't have one, there's some in the rows in front of you. If you don't have one around you, everyone needs one of these right now. And you can look, it's the Count Me In, And there's two of them, and there's a reason for two of them. So don't throw one away right now. Don't rip one off and give it to the person next to you. You need two of these. All right, I want you to hold on to these because these are important for the rest of our service. Here's the vision we have set out. We want to raise $250,000 over the next 2 years so that we can rejuvenate our current facilities, children's, students, teenagers, lobby. We want to look at the pictures that we put up for the past few weeks. This is the children's space in the comm building. That's our big elementary room. The comm building is the building at the lower end of the parking lot. So the left is one of the current children's ministry rooms. To the right is just a rendering of what that might look like. It needs repainted. It needs things on the walls. It needs to be brought up to date. Here's the next picture. That's the hallway in our children's ministry area in the comm building. Again, it's like prison. You're moving from cell block to cell block to cell block. We need to change that. It needs to be brought up to date with children's coloring and the places where children feel comfortable. Let's look at the next picture. This is this building, and when you walk out of these doors, you go back and you turn right. That's the nursery and toddler area in this building. And precious moments are wonderful. If you even know what a precious moment is, there's these little statue figurines, and the nursery and toddler area are full of those. But precious moments went out like 30 years ago, all right? It's time for us to update that space with more child-friendly type atmosphere so our parents and our children feel more comfortable in that. Let's look in the next picture. This is our student ministry space. This is middle school and high school. And on the left is what we currently have. And listen, we have more teenagers than you would care to know about in this place. I'm just saying. And it's an incredible opportunity for us. And it's fantastic to see that ministry growing. We have a great student ministry team as far as leaders and pastors here. But on the right, it's what it needs to be. We need to knock out a wall in that building. We need to double the space in that building so that our teenagers have room to worship and gather correctly over there. All right, in a good environment for them. You're going, they're teenagers. What does it matter? It matters. And it matters in a bigger way than you could ever imagine. We love our teens. We want to make sure and take care of them. All right, so here's the next thing that we want to do with this is we need to raise our finances up to meet our budgeted needs. Now, we are about $70,000 currently behind in our budgeted giving for the year. Is that a lot? Yes, that's a lot, right? It meets all of our ministry opportunities, pays all of our salaries, keeps everything open and running so that you can worship here on the weekends and so that we can do ministry together. $70,000 is a lot of money. We need to raise that so that we're not behind when we come to the end of these next 2 years. We also want to support our missionaries in Scotland to acquire a permanent visa. Now, Mark and Andrea Michael are our missionaries in Scotland, and they've been there for a few years. They're doing a fantastic job. And in case you don't know, all of Great Britain is desperate for Jesus. Now, they're not showing that because we're not doing a very good job of that. There are plenty of churches in Great Britain and England and Scotland and Ireland and Wales. There are plenty of churches, but most of them are buildings that are historic buildings, and there aren't many people going to those churches. A lot of the churches have been turned into bars and restaurants because they're buildings that are great buildings, but they're no longer used for the purpose of connecting people to Jesus. And Mark and Andrea, because of the work visas that they have to come back for an entire year every 3 to 4 years so they can go back after that and renew their work visa. All right, they have an opportunity to get a permanent visa. It's about $8,000, and we want to help them raise that money so they can do that. They're missionaries. They don't have the money. But we do because we live in America and we're more blessed than people anywhere else in this world. And we want to help as much as we can. So if we're looking at those things, here's the challenge goal. All right, we've broken this down as to what happens if we don't raise $250,000. Well, for $200,000, that includes painting, rejuvenating the preschool children's ministry area, enlarging and painting and rejuvenating the student ministry area, help us to be in a better financial position without drastically impacting staffing and ministries. Here's the next goal, and that's the victory goal. And that includes the challenge goal objectives and expansion of the lobby for connection space. Those are massive goals. That's $240,000. The celebration goal, the ultimate goal, is $250,000, which includes the challenge and victory goals and the mission opportunity. So that's $250,000. So that's a lot of money. I get that. This economy is not great right now. I get that we're not in a great place to be asking and raising money, even for kingdom work. I understand that. But let's look at how we can get there. All right? On your pages, you have a financial giving, how that works. It's also going to come up on the screen. If you look at the right-hand columns, we're taking this from 172 people or families. We have a few hundred giving units here at Community Church. We need at least one or more than one people or family to give $10,000 over the next 2 years. We need one or more than one to give over $8,000 in the next 2 years. One or more than one to give over $6,000, and the next 5 keeps going down, right? And if you look at the left-hand side, how you get there. Well, if you choose to give $10 a week, which is basically $40 a month, that's $1,000 over the next 2 years. That's significant. That makes an impact. And for some of you, that's a sacrifice. And I understand that. And I'm not taking that for granted. If you give $15 a week for the next 2 years, that's almost $1,600 that you're committing. If you did $50 a week over the next 2 years, that's $5,220 over the next 2 years. Those are significant numbers, guys. They just are. But those are the ways we can break it down to take little bits or little chunks and make a significant impact over the next 2 years to allow God to use us to get all of this stuff done, right? Now, how does that work? Well, you can give online. You can set that up. Easy steps to take through the app or through the website. Go to giving, check building fund campaign, click on. Those are easy ways to do that. You can bring cash up. You can bring a check. You can fill out one of these cards and say, over the next 2 years, I'm going to choose to give X amount of dollars for this campaign. And now, this is not only a financial campaign or a financial opportunity for you, it's also a physical opportunity for you. Here are the ways that you can help. Are you ready? Open this up, turn it to the back page, whatever you choose to do. Here are the physical ways that you can help. And everyone can help physically. Everyone. So maybe for you, you like to prep for painting, we need you. Maybe you like to paint, we need you. Maybe you like painting ceilings. I don't know why you would like that, but maybe that's some of your thing. Maybe you like to trim paint. Maybe you like to do concrete. Our front sidewalks are tore up. They need to be redone. Maybe you like to haul stuff away. You have a truck? You have that new trailer that you bought and you've used 3 times? Here's your opportunity. Maybe you like to do demolition. Yeah, man. That's it for me. Construction, not so much for me. Demolition, I'm in. Carpentry, HVAC, cleanup, following directions, hanging drywall, finishing drywall, electrical, sprinklers, plumbing, project management. Maybe there's something else that you can do that's not on this list. Write it down, turn that in. All right, this is, again, financial and physical. We're asking for both from you through this opportunity, financial and physical. You're going, I can do all of those things. And I've had a few people say, I can do all of those things. Well, aren't you special? I can do one. All right, I'm glad to do, maybe 2. I don't follow directions real well, but I can help with that, right? I can do demolition. Some of you can do multiple things, and you need to sign up for multiple things because God needs to use you in these ways. Guess what happens when you do these things? You work together, you build friendships and relationships, and you grow deeper in the kingdom of Jesus. That's what happens. You're serving alongside each other when you're doing that. And so next week is Contribute Sunday, which is part of this. And I'm going to step out in faith right now and say this. We are going to start next Sunday sanding those poor, precious moments off the walls, painting our children's area, because I believe that we're going to raise enough money to accomplish at least the first goal in this, so that we're going to go ahead and step out in faith. So next Sunday, come dressed to work. Some of you need to go and deliver turkeys. Some of you need to go to your neighbors and rake yards and mow grass and help with small projects. Some of you need to come ready to start on this children's ministry stuff. You can start taping, sanding, painting, whatever that is. There's a lot of work to be done through this campaign, and we're going to attempt to do a lot of it ourselves. Why? Because I hate talking about money, and we're a very thrifty church, and we want to accomplish this on our own. All right? We want to do that. And so don't forget, next week, Contribute Sunday, come prepared for that. So what's next? Well, what's next is remembering that it's not about us. You've got to burn that into your mind. This is not about us. The people that came before you sacrificed so you could be here. Now, some of you are here, and some of those people that came before you were relatives of yours that sacrificed financially, physically, emotionally, relationally, so Community Church could start. That's what it was, right? I mean, 200 people taking on a $1.3 million debt, that's unbelievable. 50 people taking on a $450,000 debt, unbelievable. Even when the bank said, you can't do this. When we were 200 people, we had a president of First Financial Bank that went to church here. He was a great friend. He said, there's no way we'll loan you money for this project. You're not financially stable. Guess what we did? We found somebody else to loan us money, and we built the lobby and the classroom space, and we grew from 200 people to over 400 people. You know, you're going, okay, that's significant. You know, God's been working and moving in us the whole time. All of that was for you. All of that was so that you could find Jesus and be able to grow in Jesus and build relationships with Jesus and impact our culture for Jesus. Now it's our turn. All right, we talked about the fact that this was going to be a sacrifice, not a huge sacrifice, but still a sacrifice. And that is still true. God has always shown up. God has always moved when people were willing to sacrifice something for his kingdom. Always. That's the way God works. You have to prove that you're committed to something before God shows up and starts working through you. That's how it works. I did a long time just kind of reading through and studying over the last several weeks about when people would ask something from God, what they had to do to ask something from God. So you have Gideon putting out the fleece. God, is this what I should do, or is this not what I should do? Show up and make the fleece wet, or keep it dry, or, you know, God, just show up and show me what I'm supposed to do. And you look like in the New Testament, Jesus says, throw your nets over the side of the boat. And these fishermen are going, Jesus, we've been fishing all day and there's nothing here. I mean, it's a bad time to throw nets over the boat. We're tired. We're worn out. Jesus says, throw them over the boat. And they pulled in so much fish, the boat started to sink. Why? Because they were willing to listen and do something and sacrifice, because Jesus told them to do that. I look at Moses, and Moses' life is so interesting. I mean, it's just so interesting. Here, Exodus 4, he's talking to God, and here's what God says. God says, you've got to do this. You've got to be part of setting my people free. And Moses said, what if they don't believe me or listen to me and say the Lord did not appear to you? The Lord said to him, what's in your hand? A staff, he replied. The Lord said, throw it on the ground. Moses threw it on the ground, and it became a snake. And he ran from it. And then the Lord said to him, reach out your hand and take it by the tail. So Moses reached out his hand, took hold of the snake, and it turned back into a staff in his hand. This, said the Lord, is so that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. And Moses was going, God, I don't want to do this. I just don't. I don't want to do this. And then he kept making excuses. He kept saying, there's no way, God. I don't talk very well, God. You know, I've got a speech problem. I don't talk very well. And God says, I'll take care of that for you. I'll bring your brother along. We'll let him talk for you. God, you know what? Pharaoh is not going to believe that you talk to me. He's going to laugh me out of the palace. And God's going, really? Well, maybe. But if you keep making excuses, you'll never find out. And Moses said, and God said, what's that in your hand, Moses? And Moses said, it's a staff. Now, every shepherd had a staff. It was used to protect their flock. It was used to get the sheep to go where he wanted them to go. It was meant for a lot of things, to help him walk up some of the steep mountains. And God says, Moses, what is it? He says, it's just a stick. Throw it on the ground. And when he does, it turns into a snake, right? And then God says, Moses, pick it up. And it turns back into a stick. Now, Moses had to have enough faith to lay down his comfort zone, because that stick was important to him. It provided for his sheep. It provided for him. It kept him safe. It kept them safe. That was a security blanket for Moses. And once he had enough faith to throw the stick down and let God work, once he took that first step with God, God opened up all kinds of miracles for him. And we've talked about some of these, right? Moses gets the people out of Egypt, and he leads them straight into a trap. You got the Red Sea in front of you. You got mountains on either side of you. You know, Pharaoh's army is coming behind you to kill you. And so what did Moses do? He took that staff and he raised it up, and the Red Sea split in half. And they walked it through on dry ground. And when all the Israelites were through, he took that staff and he lowered it, and the water came through and drowned a lot of the Israelite soldiers. God used that staff to make an impact, right? God used Moses to make an impact and used the staff as well. They're dying of thirst in the desert. So what did Moses do? Moses used the staff and he struck it on a rock, and the rock provided enough water for the people to drink, and they weren't thirsty anymore, and they weren't going to die of thirst. Moses used the staff. God used Moses, but Moses used the staff. You see, God took an ordinary stick in Moses' hand, and he did it to perform some incredible miracles. Hold this up. Everybody grab this. Hold it up. What is this? Couple pieces of paper. That's what it is. It has wording big enough that I can read it without my readers. It is. It absolutely is. It's a vision. It's what God wants to do. It's a dream. But honestly, it's some words. It's some words. That's what it is. It's an ordinary piece of paper with some words. Let me tell you what it represents. It represents the power that you have to be part of the vision and direction and mission that God's doing here. That's what it represents. Just like Moses' staff, just like Gideon's fleece, just like the nets for the fishermen. It represents God's power and vision for you. So what are you doing? What are you doing here at Community? What are you doing with your lives here at Community? You know what? A real way to show you God and to CCC is to say, I'm all in on this. I'm willing to be part of this. I love the fact that Jesus just didn't say that he loved us, but he proved that he loved us. Take out the communion cups. Should be in the seats in front of you. The racks under the seats are beside you in the chair. Take out your communion. If not, turn around and grab some. There'll be some behind you maybe. Everybody needs some of the communion. And here's the deal for Jesus. Jesus took what was ordinary, everyday things, and he used them to represent his death, burial, and resurrection. This represents Jesus' sacrifice for us. All right? So no matter where you are or where you've been, no matter what sins you continue to commit and do every single week, no matter what temptation you have on a daily basis that sometimes you give into and sometimes you don't, this represents hope and forgiveness and the love of Jesus for you. Will you open the bottom of these? Take out the bread. Again, Jesus said, I'm giving my body for you. They didn't get that, but they were getting ready to understand that, because his body went through an incredible amount of torture and pain. And that pain was for you. It was for me. It was for us. Let's take this together. Jesus said the blood sacrifice is the most important of all sacrifices because it's a permanent sacrifice. Blood says, I'm all in. And when Jesus gave his life for us, he said, I'm all in for you. Let's take this together. All that gives us meaning and purpose in our lives. This church has helped many of you. This ministry of Community Christian Church has provided a lot for you. Was at our 9 o'clock service. He always comes to 9 o'clock. He was here for a few years, he and his family, and then they moved back, I believe, to New Mexico. And he came back to finish out his time at GE, and so he's been back for a couple of years. And Cedric came up to me this morning. He said, next Sunday's my last Sunday. He said, I'm retiring, and I get to go home. I said, way to go, man. Way to go. I'm glad you stuck it out. I'm glad you came back to Community. He said, I just want you to know. He calls me pastor, which I appreciate. He said, I just want you to know, Pastor, I love it so much here because this is a Bible-believing church, and we're not afraid to speak what the Bible says. I don't get the opportunity to go to many other churches. I do on a weekend off or when I'm on vacation. I don't get that opportunity. I don't know what's out there. But I am thankful that we have stayed true to what the Bible says and tried to commit to that and move forward based on Jesus' power and not our own power. But I have seen people come through these doors, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people come through these doors whose marriages have been changed because of this church, whose lives have been changed, whose futures have been changed, whose addictions have been controlled and able to move forward. As I've seen that and I've experienced that. And I am so thankful for that because Jesus is moving here. Just is. Now, anybody remember who Flip Wilson was? Flip was an old-time comedian before it got nasty and dirty and janky kind of stuff out there in the comedian world. And Flip was an incredible comedian. And one of his characters was a preacher at the What's Happening Now church. Now, Flip was black, and he used his black preacher voice, which I absolutely love, by the way. And he would shout out, he said, if this church is going to serve God, it's got to get down on its knees and crawl. And everybody would shout out, make it crawl, preacher, make it crawl. And once this church has learned how to crawl, it's got to get up on its feet and walk. And the congregation would yell out, make it walk, preacher, make it walk. And if this church is going to learn to walk, it's got to learn how to run. And the congregation would yell out, make it run, preacher, make it run. And then he would say, in order to run, it's got to reach deep down in its pockets and learn how to give. And the congregation yelled, make it crawl, preacher, make it crawl. And that's how I feel when we talk about money sometimes. You know, it's just difficult for that. But one of my mentors, who was an incredible pastor of a church in Lexington, Kentucky, Wayne Smith, he used to say, and he said it a lot, a bell isn't a bell until you ring it, and a song isn't a song until you sing it, and love in your heart wasn't put there to stay. Love isn't love until you give it away. And he lived that. Wayne was an incredible man. He really was. He lived that out every day in his life. As a matter of fact, he gave away so much stuff, his wife put a stop to his spending because when I interned there, he said, you want me to buy you a car? You're driving this old beater. I said, yes, sir. I was in college. And Marge said, no, sir, you're not buying him a car. Anyway, he was an incredible man. 1 John 3:18, dear children, let's not merely say that we love each other. Let us show the truth by our actions. Friends, this card is a truth. It's your actionable step to show your love for the people around this church and around Butler County. And it's the opportunity to prepare us for what's next down the road. That's our opportunity. One person said this in a giving campaign: I just gave money I don't have for people I've never met because of a God that I love very much. That's a powerful statement. You don't know who's coming here next. All I know is these doors are open because of you right now, and these doors are going to remain open because of what we're going to do in the future. We want to welcome more and more and more people through these doors so that more and more people can find the love and grace and mercy and forgiveness of Jesus, because we all need that, and because this population has grown from 4 billion to 8 billion worldwide in the last 59 years. And it's just going to continue to grow. And we just have to continue to reach out to those people. So are we willing to make a little sacrifice for a big difference? Are we willing to do that? Let me say this. I've heard some complaints over the past several weeks about, oh, you're talking about money, whatever. Listen, I understand that. I understand our economy is tough right now. I get that. I understand some of you aren't on board with this. I understand that. Let me just put this out there to you. If you choose to complain about this challenge that I'm giving you, here's my challenge. Get off your butt and start making disciples. That's my challenge. If you choose to say, I'm not giving to this thing, it's not worth it for me to do this, I don't have resources, I'm just not doing it. Get off your couch and you win 3 families to Jesus in this next year, because that's what you're called to do. That's what God has called us to do. So again, I understand if this is a challenge for you, and maybe a bigger challenge than you want right now. The challenge to win people to Jesus and to make disciples is not a challenge, that's a command. So if you choose not to do this, choose to do what God has commanded you to do, which is to go and make disciples. With everyone around us that needs Jesus, we need to be willing to do whatever we can to reach just one more. Again, I've seen people come through these doors that were broken and hurting and messed up, and their lives were shattered. And I've seen this church reach out to those people and put their arms around them and love them no matter who you are, where you've been, or what you've done. That's who this church is. We love people. We love God, we love people, and we want to help others do that same thing. And it would not have happened if it weren't for the sacrifice of the first 50. Said, we're not going to stay comfortable. We're going to sacrifice our music style, our building, our clothing style, our choices, our location. We're going to sacrifice everything so that we can reach one more person for Jesus. And that's what they did. And I am grateful to them. Thank you. Thank you. Here's what Luke 6:38 says. Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. You know, that's so basic. When you're a generous person, people are generous back to you. That's the way it works. When you're generous to God, God is generous right back at you. You can't outgive God. You just can't. I've seen it time after time after time. Now, take this commitment card. I want you, there are pens up on the stage, there are pens in the back. We have baskets on the stage, we have baskets in the back. I want you to take this and I want you to mark everything that you're willing to physically do over the next several months because of what we're challenging you to do. I also want you to write down what you're willing to financially give over the next several months to help us reach this goal and this challenge. Now, here's the deal. You write your name down, you put what you're willing to commit down, then you tear that paper off and you write the same thing on the second paper, because the second paper goes home with you, so that you're reminded of what you just committed to. Now, as of 9 o'clock this morning, before our 9 o'clock service, we had a handful of people, just a handful of people, commit Let me find it here. $85,980 to this, to reach out for Jesus. That's massive for a handful of people. You know, I said what would happen if we didn't get enough money through this. We'll just back down what we're doing. We'll do one thing at a time. Those are the different stages of the giving. I never thought about what would happen if we got more money than we were asking for. Guess what happens? If we get more, we're going to do more ministry. We're going to reach more people. We're going to do more things for more people because of the love of Jesus. And we're going to continue to keep these doors open, allow people to come through these doors to find Jesus' hope, love, grace, mercy, and forgiveness. That's what we're going to do. All right? So here it is. Write down what you've got. Write down what you're willing to do. The band's going to play through a song. We can sit here and sing it as long as you choose to. Right? You can bring your commitments. You can come up and grab pens if you want to, or we can pass pens out to you. Raise your hand if you don't have one and you need one. We'll get one of those to you. Some people are raising their hands. Listen, bring it up, put it in the baskets, and I can't wait to announce to you all this week what God is doing through you. Because I believe that God's going to do a significant thing here at Community. I believe these little rejuvenation progress that we're going to make is going to make a massive difference in the life of this church. I believe the mission opportunity for Scotland is going to make a massive difference. And I actually want to take a trip to Scotland in the next couple of years as a church to go and see what life is like and what kind of a mission opportunity we can do and an impact we can do there, either Ireland or Scotland, the UK, whatever, both. We'll do all of the UK. But you know, I'm anxious to see what that is. But it starts here with this right now. So sit there while we sing through the song, pray whatever you need to pray. I'm praying for God to move you, to make an impact, to make a difference. I'm praying for some of you to be $10 a week givers and some of you to be $10,000 givers through this opportunity. But I'm praying for you because we need all of those. And I'm praying that God uses you in a big time way. Because you're that important and you're that valuable. And so are your neighbors and friends. I'm going to pray. We're going to ask you to make your way to the front, to the back, drop those in there, and you'll hear in just a day or so what we've committed to this. And I'm praising God already for what it's going to be. Father God, I pray for everyone in this room. I pray for their commitment to you. If they're a guest, if they're here only a couple times, God, open their hearts. God, I'm not asking them to give anything because it's all for them. But God, may you open their hearts in some way to make some type of an impact for your kingdom. That are here permanently or spiritually over the past several years. God, thank you for loving us. And it's in Jesus' name.